What if the answer to a team's most persistent, season-defining question isn't some blockbuster trade for a household name, a splashy acquisition that dominates headlines? What if, instead, it's a 24-year-old netminder quietly putting up elite numbers in a struggling market, a player most fans have never even heard of? And what if the Edmonton Oilers' discreet scouting presence at a recent Columbus Blue Jackets game signals something far more strategic, far more calculated, than anyone realizes? Hey, everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're connecting dots that might seem insignificant at first glance, but could, in fact, reveal Edmonton's master plan for solidifying their crease heading into what they desperately hope will be a deep, triumphant playoff run. This isn't about panic moves or desperation, the kind of reactive scrambling we often see from teams under pressure. No, this is about smart organizations doing their homework, meticulously identifying value, and positioning themselves to strike before the rest of the league even catches on. This is about foresight, about strategy, and about finding the hidden gem that could truly unlock a championship. Let's dive into this fascinating development. The spark that ignited this intriguing speculation came from a seemingly innocuous tweet by hockey insider Aaron Portzline. He dropped a tidbit of information that, on the surface, might not have seemed newsworthy. NHL scouts were in attendance for the Columbus Blue Jackets game against the formidable Colorado Avalanche. Now, let's be clear, scouts attend games constantly. It's part of their standard operating procedure, a relentless cycle of evaluating players across the league, building databases, and keeping tabs on potential targets. But here's where things get undeniably interesting, where the plot thickens. Portzline specifically noted the presence of goaltending scouts, and almost immediately, speculation erupted among the passionate Oilers fan base that Edmonton's brass might have been in the building, their eyes fixed on the net. Portzline himself, with a knowing wink, added fuel to the fire with a cheeky, gentle people, start your rumors, acknowledging that this kind of specific information tends to take on a life of its own in the fervent echo chambers of hockey circles. Elvis Merzlikins started for Columbus that night, stopping 32 of 35 shots and finishing with a respectable .914 save percentage and a 3.10 goals against average. Solid numbers, certainly, but nothing spectacular, nothing that screams immediate game changer. And frankly, there's no concrete indication that the Oilers were specifically watching Merzlikins. They could have been evaluating Colorado's goaltending or any number of other players on the ice, forwards, defensemen, prospects. But the very specific mention of goaltending scouts suggests Edmonton is doing exactly what smart organizations do: evaluating options, gathering crucial information, and preparing for potential moves should the need arise. It's about being prepared, not just reacting. So, why exactly do the Edmonton Oilers need to be looking at goaltending options right now? Let's address the elephant in the room, the lingering question mark that has hovered over this team for far too long. The Oilers' goaltending situation, while functional at times, is far from settled, far from championship-caliber certainty. Stuart Skinner has shown flashes of brilliance, moments where he looks like the future, but these have been interspersed with stretches of inconsistency that make fans hold their breath. Jack Campbell's contract remains an albatross around the organization's neck, a financial burden that limits flexibility and provides little on-ice return. Calvin Pickard has been a solid, reliable backup, a true professional, but he isn't a long-term solution, nor is he expected to carry the load of a starter. More importantly, all three goalies are on expiring deals, which means Edmonton faces a critical, high-stakes offseason decision point. Do they commit long-term to Skinner, hoping he finds consistency? Do they bring in competition to push him? Or do they completely overhaul the entire position, seeking a fresh start? These aren't questions you answer on the fly in a moment of panic. These are strategic decisions that require months of meticulous evaluation, extensive scouting, and careful planning, which is precisely why having scouts at games now, in October, makes perfect, undeniable sense. The Oilers aren't necessarily looking to make an immediate knee-jerk move. They're gathering intelligence, building a comprehensive dossier for decisions that might not materialize until the trade deadline or even next summer's free agency period. It's about laying the groundwork, brick by brick, for future success. Let's quickly address the most obvious name that might come to mind when you hear Columbus goalie, Elvis Merzlikins. At $5.4 million annually, he's almost certainly not a realistic option for Edmonton. The Oilers are already navigating a challenging cap situation, a tightrope walk that requires precision and discipline. Adding that kind of salary for a goaltender who's been maddeningly inconsistent throughout his career simply doesn't make financial or strategic sense for a team in win-now mode. Merzlikins has talent, there's no denying that. He can steal games when he's on. But he's also been volatile, alternating between stretches of elite, game-stealing play and periods where he looks completely lost, struggling to track the puck. That kind of volatility, combined with his hefty salary, makes him a poor fit for what Edmonton needs: stability, reliability, and cap efficiency. So, if the Oilers weren't there watching Merzlikins, who were they evaluating? This is where things get truly fascinating, where the narrative takes an unexpected turn. Enter Jet Greaves, Columbus' 24-year-old Group 6 unrestricted free agent, fits Edmonton's profile in ways that Merzlikins simply doesn't. Let's start with the numbers because they are, quite frankly, eye-popping. Greaves has played 24 NHL games and posted a remarkable .926 save percentage with a 2.57 goals against average. Those aren't just good numbers. Those are elite numbers, especially for a young goaltender still establishing himself at the NHL level. His 2023-24 performance was very solid, and he started this season strong as well, demonstrating consistency and growth. More importantly, he's doing it without the massive contract or the established reputation that drives up acquisition costs and creates bidding wars. He's the definition of a value play. A young goaltender with elite underlying numbers who's still flying under the radar because he plays in a small market for a struggling franchise. He's the diamond in the rough, waiting to be polished. Let's break down why Jet Greaves could be exactly what the Oilers need, both in the short term and for their long-term future. First, the age profile is perfect. At 24, Greaves is young enough to develop further, to potentially become a long-term solution, a cornerstone of the franchise for years to come. But he's also old enough to contribute immediately if needed, to step into a backup role, or even challenge for a starting spot. He's not a project, he's a player who has already proven he can perform at the NHL level. Second, the salary situation is ideal. As a Group 6 UFA, Greaves won't command a massive contract. The Oilers could sign him to a reasonable, team-friendly deal that doesn't hamstring their cap flexibility, allowing them to maintain the depth and roster balance that is absolutely crucial for championship contention. Third, his statistical profile suggests he could thrive in the Oilers system. Edmonton has one of the most potent offenses in the league, relentless scoring machine. This means their goaltender doesn't need to steal games night after night, making 40-plus saves to keep them in it. They need someone who can make the routine saves consistently, provide a calming presence, and come up with a few big, timely stops when it matters most. Greaves' numbers suggest he can do exactly that. Be a reliable, steady presence in net. Here's something that often gets overlooked in these discussions: the depth consideration. The Oilers might not just be looking for a starting goaltender. With 3 goalies on expiring deals, they might be evaluating depth options as well, players who can provide insurance and stability throughout the organization. Championship teams don't just have one reliable goaltender, they have organizational depth that allows them to weather injuries, slumps, and the inevitable ups and downs of an 82-game season and a grueling playoff run. Greaves could fit into that equation in multiple ways: as a backup with starter upside, as insurance if Skinner struggles, or as a long-term developmental piece who can contribute immediately if needed. The beauty of targeting someone like Greaves is the sheer flexibility it provides. He's not going to cost significant assets to acquire. He's not going to demand a massive contract that cripples the cap. He's not going to create a goaltending controversy that destabilizes the locker room. He's simply a talented young goaltender who could provide valuable depth and potentially develop into something far more significant. Let's talk about what this scouting presence actually means, because it's important not to overreact to what might be routine information gathering. NHL teams scout constantly. They have personnel at games across the league every single night, evaluating players, gathering information, and building vast databases of knowledge that inform future decisions. The presence of a goaltending scout at a Blue Jackets game doesn't necessarily mean a trade is imminent or even likely in the immediate future. But it does strongly suggest the Oilers are being proactive, not reactive. They're not waiting until desperation strikes, until the trade deadline is looming, to start evaluating options. They're doing their homework now, building relationships with other organizations, and positioning themselves to act quickly and decisively if the right opportunity presents itself. That's smart management. That's how successful organizations operate. They don't react, they anticipate. They don't scramble, they plan. It's also worth considering Columbus' perspective in all of this, the Columbus factor. The Blue Jackets are in the early stages of a rebuild, a painful but necessary process of accumulating young talent and draft picks while trying to establish a competitive foundation for the future. Greaves represents an interesting asset for them. He's shown he can play at the NHL level, but with Merzlikins under contract and other goaltending prospects in their system, Columbus might be open to moving him for the right return. They're not going to give him away for free, but they're also not in a position to demand a king's ransom for a goaltender who's played only 24 career games. For Edmonton, that creates opportunity. They could potentially acquire Greaves for a mid-round draft pick or a prospect who doesn't quite fit their timeline, a low-risk, high-upside move that championship contenders should absolutely be exploring. The timeline question: when might this actually happen? That's the million-dollar question, and the honest answer is probably not immediately. The Oilers are playing well to start the season. Their goaltending, while not elite, has been adequate enough to keep them competitive. There's no pressing, immediate need to make a move right now, which means any potential acquisition of Greaves would likely come at the trade deadline when teams are making their final pushes, or during the offseason when general managers have more cap flexibility and time to make strategic decisions. But that's exactly why having scouts evaluate him now makes so much sense. By the time the deadline arrives, the Oilers will have months of data on Greaves' performance, multiple scouting reports, and a clear, comprehensive understanding of whether he fits what they need. They won't be making a desperation move based on limited information. They'll be executing a plan they've been developing for months, a testament to their strategic approach. So, what's the final verdict? Is there real substance to the speculation about the Oilers and Jet Greaves, or is this much ado about nothing, just typical scouting being overblown? The truth probably lies somewhere in between. The Oilers are almost certainly evaluating goaltending options across the league, and Greaves fits the profile of what they might be looking for: young, talented, cost-effective, and with elite underlying numbers. But that doesn't mean a trade is imminent or even guaranteed. What it does mean is that Edmonton is being proactive, doing their homework, and positioning themselves to act if the right opportunity presents itself. That's exactly what championship-caliber organizations do. And it's a profoundly positive sign for Oilers fans who've watched their team come agonizingly close to the ultimate prize in recent years. It shows a commitment to strategic thinking, to finding value where others might not look, and to leaving no stone unturned in their quest for the Stanley Cup. All right, here's what I need from you, the passionate fans. Do you think Jet Greaves is a legitimate, under-the-radar solution for the Oilers' goaltending situation, or is this just typical scouting that's being overblown? Would you rather see Edmonton commit to Stuart Skinner long-term, hoping he finds that consistent elite form? Or would you prefer they bring in competition to push him to truly solidify the crease? And what would you be willing to give up to acquire a goaltender with Greaves' statistical profile and potential? Let me know in the comments below, because goaltending debates always bring out the most passionate opinions, and I want to hear exactly where you stand on this. If this breakdown helped you understand why the Oilers might be targeting Columbus, Hit that like button, and let's keep tracking these potential moves as the season unfolds. The crease is where championships are won and lost, and Edmonton knows they need to get this decision absolutely right. Talk soon. Considering the Oilers' win-now window, how much risk should they be willing to take on a relatively unproven, albeit statistically impressive, goaltender like Greaves?